A strange thing is happening right now. Millions of normal people are doing everything they were told to do, working hard, getting educated, saving money, and somehow feeling financially stuck anyway. Your parents could buy a house with one salary. Today, two educated people with decent jobs can barely afford rent. And the weirdest part is this. Most people think the problem is laziness, or bad budgeting, or too much coffee. But what if normal people can't build wealth anymore, not because they're irresponsible, but because the entire system quietly changed? Because over the last 40 years, wealth stopped rewarding labor and started rewarding ownership. And once you understand this shift, modern life suddenly starts making a lot more sense. Why salaries feel smaller? Why houses feel impossible? Why even high-income people still feel trapped? Because the economy most people think they're participating in barely exists anymore. And the uncomfortable truth is, most people don't realize this until decades later. By then, they're already exhausted. So, in this video, we're going to break down the invisible system making normal people feel poorer every year, why saving money no longer works the way it used to, why modern culture quietly traps people financially, and the mindset shift that separates people who slowly build freedom from people who stay stuck forever. Because once you see this, you can never unsee it. For decades, there was an unspoken deal between ordinary people and the economy. If you worked hard, stayed loyal, and saved your money, you would slowly build a stable life. Not rich, not luxurious, just stable. A house, a car, a retirement, a little breathing room. And for a while, that system genuinely worked. In many countries during the 1960s and 70s, a single average income could support an entire family. One parent worked. The other often stayed home. Families still bought houses, still raised children, still retired. And compared to today, that almost sounds fictional. But then something changed, quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. Technology improved. Productivity exploded. Workers became more efficient than ever before. Companies became massively profitable. Globalization accelerated. Financial markets expanded. Human output increased enormously, but wages, they barely moved. The average person kept producing more value without receiving much more in return. And at the exact same time, assets exploded in price. Homes, stocks, land, businesses. So something strange started happening. The people who owned assets became dramatically wealthier. The people trading time for money slowly fell behind. And this created the modern wealth gap. Not because ordinary people suddenly became lazy. Not because everyone forgot how to budget. But because the economy slowly shifted from work hard and you'll be fine to own things or get left behind. Now here's where things become psychologically exhausting. Most people still think like the old economy. So they do everything they were taught. Get educated, work hard, save money, stay safe. But the system around them fundamentally changed, and this creates an invisible trap. Imagine someone earning $4,000 a month. At first, that sounds decent. But then reality starts subtracting from it. Rent increases, food prices increase, transportation increases, insurance increases, utilities increase, healthcare increases. And suddenly, just surviving consumes almost everything. Then, whatever little money remains gets parked in cash, which sounds responsible, except there's a hidden problem. Inflation silently destroys idle money every single year. So, while people believe they're staying safe, their purchasing power slowly erodes in the background. It's like trying to climb a staircase. That's moving downward. You're working, you're trying, you're exhausted, but financially, You barely move. And over time, that creates something dangerous psychologically. People stop believing effort changes outcomes. And once people stop believing effort matters, motivation begins collapsing too. And then social media enters the equation, which makes everything dramatically worse. Because for the first time in human history, people constantly compare their normal life to the highlight reels of millions of strangers. Everywhere people look, they see influencers buying luxury apartments at 25, crypto millionaires, entrepreneurs making millions before breakfast, luxury vacations, perfect lifestyles, fast money, fast success. So normal life starts feeling like failure, even when someone is objectively doing okay. And this creates enormous psychological pressure, because humans don't judge success absolutely, they judge it relatively. A person earning decent money can still feel poor if everyone online appears richer. And the algorithms understand this perfectly. Outrage keeps attention. Comparison keeps attention. Envy keeps attention. So platforms constantly feed people lifestyles designed to trigger insecurity, which pushes many people into two extremes. Some stop trying entirely. Others become desperate for shortcuts. That's why scams explode during difficult economies, because hopeless people become easy targets. When someone feels financially stuck long enough, they stop looking for realistic solutions. They start looking for escape routes. And unfortunately, modern internet culture is filled with people selling fake escape routes. But here's the part nobody talks about. The wealthy are not necessarily working harder. They're simply playing a completely different game. And once you understand this next idea, modern inequality suddenly makes a lot more sense. Most people earn money 1 hour at a time, which means their income is capped by time and energy. But wealthy people focus on owning assets, and assets behave completely differently than labor. A worker has to wake up every day to earn. An asset keeps working while the owner sleeps. A rental property appreciates. A business scales. A stock portfolio compounds. Digital products sell repeatedly. Intellectual property generates royalties. And over long periods of time, this difference becomes enormous. Because wealth today is heavily tied to capital, not effort. This is why two people can work equally hard for 30 years and end up in completely different financial realities. One person only consumed income. The other slowly accumulated ownership. And the crazy part is, most people intellectually understand this, but emotionally, they underestimate how powerful small ownership positions become over time. Because compounding feels invisible in the beginning. For years, it looks like nothing is happening. Then, suddenly, progress accelerates. That's why the first investment is psychologically the hardest. Not because it's mathematically difficult, but because humans struggle to value delayed rewards. Modern life trains people to think short-term, fast dopamine, fast entertainment, fast delivery, fast validation, fast results. But wealth is usually built slowly, quietly, and boringly, which is exactly why most people never stay consistent long enough. And here's another uncomfortable truth. High income does not automatically create wealth. Because modern consumer culture is specifically designed to absorb every financial upgrade. Someone gets a raise, so they upgrade apartments, upgrade cars, upgrade clothes, upgrade lifestyle. And slowly, their expenses rise to match their income. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it traps millions of people who technically earn good money. Because real wealth is not about looking rich. It's about owning enough assets that your life no longer depends entirely on your next paycheck. But that mindset is incredibly difficult inside a culture built around status signaling. People buy things to communicate progress, even if those purchases quietly delay actual freedom. And companies understand this perfectly. That's why modern economies are built to maximize consumption. Your attention is monetized. Your impulses are monetized. Your insecurity is monetized. The system constantly encourages people to spend today, while wealthy people quietly acquire assets for tomorrow. And over decades, that tiny behavioral difference compounds into massive inequality. So after hearing all this, it's easy to become cynical, to believe the game is completely rigged. And honestly, parts of it absolutely are harder than previous generations experienced. Housing is harder. Competition is harder. Living costs are higher. Attention is fragmented. But here's the important distinction. Harder does not mean impossible. The people who still build wealth today usually understand one thing. They stop relying only on income and start building ownership. That could mean investing consistently, building a business, learning high-value skills, creating digital assets, buying productive assets instead of status symbols. Not overnight, not through magic, not through fake guru promises, but gradually, quietly, consistently. Because in the modern economy, small ownership matters more than ever. And ironically, most people never start because they think they need huge amounts of money. When in reality, wealth often begins with behavior, long before it appears in numbers. The uncomfortable truth is this: normal people are not failing because they're lazy. Many are exhausted, overworked, trying their best inside a system that became far more expensive, competitive, and asset-driven. But understanding the game changes everything, because once you realize wealth is increasingly built through ownership rather than pure labor, you stop measuring progress only by salary. You start asking a different question. What am I building that can grow without me? And that single shift in thinking can quietly change an entire financial future. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, because the people who understand how money really works usually start seeing the world very differently. And once you see the system clearly, you stop playing it blindly.